Okay, I got a question asking, how do I talk to my kids about my eating disorder? And I have some experience with that because when I started recovery, became very vocal and open about my eating disorder. However, prior to starting recovery, I didn't talk about it much because I kind of assumed my kids didn't notice or didn't think what I was doing was weird, or perhaps I wasn't self-aware enough to even think it was an issue. But when I started recovery, I knew I was going to need their support. I knew that they'd be asking questions. And I also kind of looked at it as a great opportunity to educate them, not only about eating disorders, but also just to educate them and to teach them by example that we can do hard things. I can do a hard thing, you can do hard things. One of my daughters struggles with anxiety around other things. She had separation anxiety for a really long time. She has some other just kind of like small anxieties that don't make sense to my other kids, but for her it's a really big deal. And so as I started talking more about my eating disorder, I would explain to them what anxiety was. And she didn't really even know what was going on with her. And so I kind of would give that take the opportunity to talk to them. So anxiety is when you have this like really crazy, scary feeling. It feels really intense, and sometimes it doesn't always make a lot of sense. And so I would say, for example, you guys don't see me eating pizza very often, and you may wonder why, and it's because it gives me a lot of anxiety. When I eat it, it feels like I might die, or it feels like my heart is going to beat out of my chest. I know it doesn't make sense to you guys because you love pizza, but that's how it feels for me, and that's why Mom doesn't eat pizza very often. But I'm in recovery from my eating disorder, and I really want to be able to overcome these fears. And so as I would set goals like, hey, today my challenge is this and this and this, to eat these things. And they were so cute. They would ask later, Mom, how'd you do? Did you do it? What was it? Was it good? Did you get that cheeseburger? And they were so young, but they still just were cheering me on. And I loved that I was able to have that kind of communication with them, but also to have them, they didn't know they were keeping me accountable, but they absolutely were, because if there's no greater reason to recover from an eating disorder than your kids, I can't think of one. And so, or perhaps your future kids. And so talking to them, obviously each child's going to be different, and depending on the age, will determine how much and what you want to tell them. But I would first sit down with them and ask them, what do you notice about me that seems strange? Or do you have any questions about my behaviors or things that I do? This is a really sad memory, but I'm gonna share it just because it gave me an opportunity to go back, things that my kids had learned or watched that didn't realize how strange they were, but it gave me a chance to talk to them about. So for Mother's Day in elementary school, they always felt this cute form. And one of the questions was like, my dad is really good at blank. My mom is really good at blank. So my son wrote, my dad is really good at spending time with me. Then for me, my mom, he said, my mom is really good at getting strong. And what he was referring to is the time that I spent in the gym working out. And I just came across that not too long ago, and I was able to sit down with him and be like, Asher, I am so sorry that was truly like what you saw me as being good at, that was it. And that was wrong. That should not have been a priority over you. I hope that I can show you moving forward, and that I have been able to show you that like you come first, and just being able to like it's hard, it's messy stuff, and it's not easy. But I think showing our kids that we can be vulnerable and that we're not perfect and that we can tackle and overcome fears of our own is going to help them so much. I use it even still all the time. My son trying out for a soccer team was so nervous. And I was like, Asher, I totally know how you feel. It's really scary to do these things, but the more that you do it, the more you'll realize it's okay. You might feel nervous, but it's going to be fine. And then I'd relate an example to, like, remember when I stopped going to the gym, how anxious I was, and I talked to you about that. So it would be things like that. Another thing that's so important is, as my body started to change in recovery, my kids, as young as they were, noticed. And they would poke my stomach and be like, Mom, you look pregnant. Whoa, Mom, your legs are so big. And they would say these things innocently, but compared to what they were used to seeing, it was very different for them. And I want you to be very aware, if your kids ever do make comments, it's so important not to react. Not to be like, that is so mean. I can't believe you would say that to me. Because what message is that teaching your kids then? that being big is a horrible thing, and that's a mean thing to say to somebody, that they are big because heaven forbid that they, had gained weight. And so when my kids would say that, of course, initially I would be freaking out inside. I would be like, oh my gosh, it's true. Like, I do look pregnant. What have I done? Oh my gosh, I'm like totally losing control. And I'd freak out in my head. But I would respond and just be like, oh, I know, just part of getting healthy, and I just try to make it light and not make them feel bad for saying it, and definitely not give the message that getting bigger is some awful thing that can happen. And so this is a hard one to give advice on because each child is so different. I don't know your children. Each age is going to ask for something different, but just being really open. Let them ask questions. I guarantee you that they will think of questions to ask. And I know it's scary to talk about, especially if you haven't started recovery, because you don't want your kids to worry. And so really, really think long and hard about, am I really ready and willing to commit to full recovery? And when you are, I think that talking to them about it is going to make a huge difference in your own recovery and in their own lives. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect and never mess up again in your recovery, but be open with them throughout your successes and your failures and how you learned from it and all of those things. So anyways, I hope that helps. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.